Okay, be honest. How many browser tabs do you have open right now with flights you are never going to book?
Right now, 7, maybe 8. There's one that's just Mongolia. I don't even know why.
See, that's the whole problem. Everybody wants to travel in 2027, but nobody can actually decide where.
And that's exactly what this show is for. Welcome in. You're listening to the podcast where we cut through the noise and help you actually pick a trip. I'm Dev.
And I'm Maya. Now, before we dive in, do us one tiny favor if figuring out where to go next has ever stressed you out. Hit that subscribe button and follow the channel right now.
It is genuinely free. It takes 2 seconds, and it's the one thing that tells us to keep making these.
So go ahead, tap subscribe, and if you've got a dream country in mind already, drop it in the comments. We read them.
All right. Today we're putting countries head to head. No vague, oh, everywhere is nice. Real trade-offs, real costs, real months.
By the end of this, you'll have one country, maybe two, and you'll actually book it. Let's get into it. Let's start where most people actually start. Money. If someone's got a modest budget for 2027, my pick is Vietnam.
Strong opener.
Think about it. You eat incredibly well for a couple of dollars, the coffee culture is unreal, and you get beaches, mountains, and cities all in one country. Hanoi 1 week, Da Nang the next.
No argument on value. What's the actual daily number?
Roughly $35 to $60 a day, mid-range. That's a nice room. Eating out every meal, getting around, all of it. Backpackers do it on half that.
And the flight is really your biggest cost. So when does she go?
March and April are the safe window for the whole country. October and November too, especially up north. Just avoid the summer, June through August. It's hot, humid, peak rainy season.
So Vietnam. Maximum adventure, minimum money. Go in spring. Okay, my turn. For a first big international trip, I'm putting up Portugal.
Interesting. Why Portugal over somewhere cheaper?
Because cheap and easy aren't the same thing. Portugal's beautiful. Lisbon on the hills, Porto and the port wine cellars, the beaches in the Algarve. But the real win is that it's smooth. English everywhere, super safe, the trains work, and you're never far from a great meal.
It's not Vietnam prices though.
No. Budget 90 to 150 a day. The food itself is cheap. It's the hotels that climb in peak season.
So when's the sweet spot?
May, June, and September. September's my favorite. Ocean's still warm. Summer crowds are gone. Just avoid August, when all of Europe is on holiday and prices spike.
So, Portugal. Exciting but never overwhelming. Perfect first big trip. All right, the big one. The country people save for years to visit. Japan.
The one that basically never disappoints.
And it's really 2 trips in one. There's neon, buzzing Tokyo at night, and then silent, ancient Kyoto. The temples, a hot spring out in the snow. You get both in a single week.
And the food conversation is over before it starts.
It's not a fair fight, no. What's it cost?
Budget 120 to 200 a day. Some things surprise you. Amazing ramen is a few dollars. But the Tokyo and Kyoto hotels climb fast. So book those early.
And the timing really matters here, right?
Big time. Late March into early April for the cherry blossoms. Or October into November for the autumn colors. Blossom season is crowded and pricey, so if you want beauty with fewer people, lean November. Avoid June and July, that's the rainy season, and August is just hot and sticky.
So, Japan, the trip that does everything, the safest wow on the list. Go in autumn.
Now, what if you don't want a city at all? What if it's mountains, empty roads, scenery that stops you mid-sentence?
Then it's New Zealand.
Nothing on this list touches it for pure landscape. Fjords, glaciers, turquoise lakes, roads with nobody on them. You experience it by driving. Rent a camper van, point it at the South Island, and every hour looks like a wallpaper.
But it's far, and it's not cheap. Give people the honest number.
130 to 220 a day, plus the rental on top. And for most people, the flight is long and pricey. This is a plan the whole year around it trip.
And the seasons are flipped, so people always get this wrong.
They do. Their summer, December to February, is peak but crowded and expensive. My quiet pick is March and April, their autumn. Still gorgeous, way fewer people, better prices.
So, New Zealand. If the landscape itself is the whole reason you're going, go in their autumn. Okay, now the one hardly anyone talks about. And I have to say it. I mean the country Georgia, between Europe and Asia, not the state.
People always need that clarified.
Every time. But Georgia is what Europe used to feel like before it got expensive. Real Caucasus Mountains in the north, a charming capital in Tbilisi, and an amazing food and wine scene. They actually claim to be the birthplace of wine.
And the hospitality is unreal. People pull you up to their table and won't let you leave hungry. What's it run?
$40 to $70 a day. That's closer to Vietnam than to Europe. It just hasn't been priced up by tourism yet.
Best months?
May, June, and September. Mountains open, weather kind, and September has that wine harvest energy. Just skip deep winter because the mountain regions shut down and roads close. So, Georgia, explorer vibes, spend almost nothing, and your friends haven't been. Go in late spring.
And, for the last one, something completely different. A country that hits all 5 senses at once. Morocco.
Ooh, this one's intense.
In the best way. The markets of Marrakesh, the colors, the spices, the noise, the blue streets of Chefchaouen, and a night in the Sahara, riding out on a camel, sleeping under more stars than you knew existed. City chaos to total desert silence in the same trip.
And the cost is really reasonable, isn't it?
50 to 90 a day. You can splurge on a beautiful riad, a traditional guest house for less than a boring hotel in Europe. The desert tours are an add-on, but they're the highlight, so build them in.
When should people go?
March through May or September through November. Avoid the extremes. Summer is dangerous heat inland, and the desert nights in winter get surprisingly cold.
And who is Morocco not for?
If you want quiet and gentle, this isn't it. The markets are full on. There's some hustle. But if you want to be dazzled, go. Spring or autumn.
Okay, before anyone books, 3 quick rules for all 6.
Number 1. Shoulder season is your best friend. Did you catch the pattern? Almost every answer was spring or autumn. Better weather, smaller crowds, lower prices, all at once.
Number 2. The flight can flip the whole budget. A cheap country stops being cheap if the airfare is huge, and an expensive country close to home can work out fine. Always add the flight before you decide.
And number 3. Check the visa and entry rules early. They change, and some need weeks or months of lead time. Don't get caught out 3 weeks before you fly. Quick reminder before we land the plane. If any of these 6 just made your shortlist, subscribe so you don't miss the next one. We're doing city guides and budgets next.
Okay, promise that's the last nudge. Lightning round time. Someone's stressed. They just want one answer. Give them a country.
First trip. Want it easy? Portugal.
Best value adventure, Vietnam.
Bucket list, do it all. Japan.
Nature obsessed, New Zealand.
Want to feel like an explorer? Georgia.
Want your senses blown? Morocco.
Honestly, there's no wrong answer on that list.
The only wrong move is spending all of 2027 with the tabs open and booking none of them.
Attacking me personally now.
So here's the assignment, pick one. Just one. Look up the flight for your best month and book it.
And if this helped you finally decide, do the thing. Subscribe so the next traveler who's stuck finds this too.
Thanks for listening. Go book the flight.
Close the tabs.
Close the tabs.